Okay, so there is a layer of personnel in many organizations which plays a vital role in their inadequate performance. Now, foremen and first-line supervisors, the forgotten men and women of industry and commerce, frequently promoted from the shop floor or recruited as graduates in a flash of conscience and wealth, these people occupy now one of the most crucial managerial rules, often with no idea of what they are supposed to be doing, without an identity and without training. If this behavior pattern is familiar and is continued, then TQM is doomed. So we have, in most organizations, we have first level supervisions or supervisors that which do not actually understand what they are there for. Now, the first level of supervision is where the implementations of total quality is actually managed. So the first level supervision is actually the most critical part of implementing total quality management. They may be lacking. So mo nang dili should pwede nga this first level of supervision should lack now comprehension or understanding of what total quality management is, because they serve as the most critical. Manang critical man, because they should be the one no to relate or re-echo the importance of total quality management to the other members of the organization or the staff that they are handling. So if first level supervision has no idea about the importance of total quality management and they do not undergo particular training, so then total quality management is doomed. Mana siya. Supervisors training should include an explanation of the principles of total quality management, a convincing exposition on the commitment to quality of the senior management, and an explanation of what the quality policy means for them. So it is often desired, desired. It is often desirable to involve the middle managers in the training of first-line supervision in order to ensure that the message they wish to convey through their tactical maneuvers is not distorted. Remember that middle managers are the one who will make tactical decisions. Now, second, indicate to the first-line supervision that the organization's whole management structure is serious about quality and intends that everyone is suitably trained and concerned about it too. Okay? So, mauna dapat during the training of first-level supervision or supervisor or manager, however you are going to term it, middle manager should be involved. No? The remainder of their training needs to be devoted to explaining their role in the operation of the quality management system or teamwork, and to gaining their commitment of the concepts and techniques of total quality management. One display of arrogance towards the training of supervisors in the workforce can destroy such careful planning and will certainly undermine the educational effort. So middle managers should kanang withdraw from being arrogance. Now, so again, one display of arrogance towards the training of supervisors in the workforce can destroy the careful planning. Okay, so let's go to all other employees. Now, awareness and commitment Again, awareness and commitment at the point of production or service delivery is just as vital as at the very senior level. So if it is absent from the latter, the TKM program will not begin. If it is absent from the shop floor, total quality will not be implemented. The training here should include the basics of quality, and particular care should be given to using easy reference for points for the explanation of the terms and concepts. Now, all employees should receive detailed training on the process and procedures relevant to their own work. Obviously, they must have appropriate technical or job training, but they must also understand the requirements of their customers. Now, so that's why all employees should be involved in the education and training. Most people can relate to quality and how it should be managed if they can think about the application in their own lives and at home. So, quality is really such common sense that with sensitivity and regard to various levels of intellect and experience, little resistance should be experienced. So, involving or exposing this all other employees now to training and education would give them now these particular applications in their own lives and even at home. So by this practicing now the what they have learned from the training and education, they could easily apply it in the organization. Okay. Okay, let's go to turning education and training into learning. Now, for successful learning, now training must be followed up. Now, so you do not just stop at training alone. For it, for the learning of, ang learning nimo sa, ang learning ba sa training to be effective. Now, the training must be followed up. This can take many forms, but the managers need to provide the lead through the design of improvement projects, coaching, and surgery workshops. Now, in introducing statistical methods of process control, for example, the most satisfactory strategy is to start small and build up a bank of knowledge and experience. Sometimes it is necessary to introduce STC techniques alongside existing methods of control, if ever they exist, thus allowing comparisons to be made between the new and the old methods. So after the training, of course, no, this will allow comparison between the new and old methods, the new and the old objectives. So tanaw ni mo dito, that's why it is stated that training should be followed up. You do not just stop on training. Now, when confidence has been established from this comparison, now the methods will almost take over the control of the processes themselves. So improvements in one or two areas of the organization's operations by means of this approach will quickly establish the techniques as reliable methods of controlling quality, and people will learn how to use them effectively. So usually a workshop or seminar is followed within a few weeks by surgery workshop. When we say surgery workshop, mo na ang sort of application in which participants on the initial training course present the result of their efforts to improve process and use the various methods. Now, the presentation and specific implementation problems are discussed, and then ikaw man i-present na pod para sigihan og discuss until such time that you would arrive with the perfect output. So, mo bitaw totong gibuhat, although kausara ta nag critic, no, kay we don't have a lot of time, but that is just for the purpose of you to experience, no, how it is na kanang murag na kay surgery workshop at which you as the participants will present now the output of your first Although dito training ang nahitabo sa ato, kaya it's just an education, kaya diba, nag-discuss ko what you're, about the topic, and then I have given you, a particular activity or output. So that's just can be considered as an education. Now, what man ta nag-training, right? Okay. Okay, let's go to information and knowledge. So information and knowledge are two words used very frequently in organizations. You can hear it now, or familiar na mo kayo, and even if you are not among or members of the organizations, even in lectures, you hear this now, two words. Now, often together in a context of knowledge management and information technology. But how well are they managed, and what is their role in supporting TQM? So what is the role of information and knowledge in support to TQM? So recent researchers and writers on knowledge management have drawn attention to the distinctions of the following. Now, the first one is explicit knowledge. This explicit knowledge are those knowledge that which we can express to others. Tacit knowledge are knowledge or the rest of our knowledge which we cannot easily communicate in words or symbols. If much of our knowledge is tacit, perhaps we do not fully know what we know, and it can be very difficult to explain or communicate what we know. Okay, di ba ang tacit knowledge is the type of knowledge that we have in which we cannot easily communicate in words or symbols. Na ay tao bitaw nga knowledgeable siya, but it is hard for that particular person to express his knowledge through words or even symbols. So, mo na gitawag og tacit knowledge. So, if you have a tacit knowledge, so it would be hard for you to express it in words or symbols. So imagine if all your employees has tacit knowledge. Ang saon mo naman, di ba? Well, explicit knowledge can be put into a form that we can communicate to others easily. The words, figures, and models, no? In this lesson are an example of explicit knowledge. The way that I am recording my voice, no, to further elaborate what is written in the PowerPoint. So that is an example of an explicit knowledge, something that I knew and I can easily express to you as my receiver. No? Explicit knowledge can be put into a form that which we communicate to others. Malagi na, katong example ganina. And however, in many organizations, especially the service sectors, much of people's valuable and useful knowledge is tacit rather than explicit. Now, so mo na difference between the explicit knowledge and the tacit knowledge. Now, this is important for you to analyze and understand also in terms of total quality management, because di ba ingon to, total quality management should be expressed in a clear communication within the entire organization. So if you have tacit knowledge rather than explicit knowledge, so it would be hard for you to communicate total quality management and its purpose and objectives. No? So you need also to understand this. You need also to identify your employees, whether or not the senior management, the middle, the first line, and all other members of the organization, whether or not they possess explicit or more on explicit or more on tacit knowledge. Socialization allows the conversion of tacit knowledge. Now, so, one of the ways na understand nimo that some of your employees has this tacit knowledge and some of your employees has explicit knowledge. So, what comes next? Kaning socialization, because it allows the conversion of tacit knowledge in one individual into tacit knowledge in another people, primary through sharing experiences. So, kaning tacit from one person to another person through shared experiences might result to explicit knowledge. Nga naman, kay ma-used to man sila into sharing, no? Their knowledge one-on-one. So, ma-practice sila until such time that their tacit knowledge would turn into explicit knowledge that which they can express to others easily. Example ha, ako sa una, mauwaw gud ko mo discuss. No, I don't like discussing things. For me, if you want to learn something, go ahead and read because that's what I do. Why do I need to explain it to you? So, di ko ganahan og explanation. Hilom kapuyan ko actually, no, nga mo explain. But through process of the college maasin nga kanang nay pugson bitaw kag mahimo kang kanang tawag na speaker sa morning devotion, religious convocation, mabitaw mo si kog balibad, huwag kapuyan, ako kanang di ko ganahan nagyoy nga na mapungos na gani ko because this is my responsibility to discuss, no? So, later on, no, kanang through socialization, kung mauwawon man jud ko, charot, mauwawon jud ko actually sa una. So, through socialization among members of the College of Maasin, I was, in the end, was able to convert tacit knowledge into explicit knowledge. So, that's why I don't find it difficult anymore to express whatever knowledge that I have to other people. Those are one of the things that the organization can do now if they were able to identify more tacit knowledge than explicit knowledge. Another thing is that the conversion of tacit knowledge to explicit knowledge is externalization. So we term it as when you convert tacit knowledge to explicit knowledge, it would end up with externalization, which is the process of making it readily communicable. The conversion of forms of explicit knowledge, such as creating framework, is combination. And the last one is internalization, converts explicit knowledge to tacit knowledge by translating it into personal knowledge. This could be called learning. So the creation and expression of knowledge takes place through social interaction between tacit and explicit knowledge, and the matrix on the following slide will show this as the 4 modes of knowledge conversion. So all this that we have discussed is shown here as the 4 modes of knowledge. Okay, so this is when one ni ang diagram sa kadto atong gi-discuss kanina, the socialization, externalization, internalization, and the combination between explicit knowledge, tacit knowledge. Now, so when knowledge is made explicit, so when knowledge is made explicit by putting it into words, diagrams, or other representations, it can then be typed, copied, stored, and communicated electronically or even a hard copy. It becomes information. So ang katong explicit knowledge nimo nga imong giput across into words, diagrams, or other representations, it now becomes information. Now, perhaps then a useful definition for information is something that is or can be made explicit. Okay? Samtan? Information which represents, so from explicit knowledge to information, and this information which represent captured knowledge has value as an input to human decision making and capabilities. Of course, di ba? Nandiyan na siya input because it helps particular human being to decide. Now, tacit knowledge remains intrinsic. So, kaning tacit knowledge is intrinsic. It would remain intrinsic. Now, to individuals, and only they have the capacity to act effectively in its use. So ilaha maglisod ba sila express ana, di ba? So these ideas about information and knowledge enable us to substitute information for explicit knowledge and simply knowledge. Now, in the business sense of capacity to act effectively as tacit knowledge. Now, in this framework, now, for modes of knowledge conversion, as you can see here, in the same way, externalization is capturing people's knowledge, their capacity to act in the business rules by making it explicit, and turning it into information, as in the form of written documentation or structured business processes. This remains information until other people internalize it. So from externalization, so this would remain as information now until somebody or someone internalize it, diba? It becomes part of their own knowledge. So upon the process of internalization, gi-internalize sa usa ka tawo, no, ang knowledge nga external knowledge. Now, it now becomes part of their own knowledge or capacity to act effectively. Now, having a document on a server or bookshelves does not make individuals knowledgeable, nor does reading it. So, daily knowledge comes from understanding the document by integrating the ideas into existing experience and knowledge, and thus providing the capacity to act usefully in new ways. So, mabitaw ng when I am giving assignments, no, when I am asking for essay, it should be in your own idea. So, muna akong bot pasabot, no? So, kanang what you read remains an information unless you incorporate it in your own level of understanding. Okay? In case of written documents, language and diagrams are the media by which the knowledge is transferred. So from written documents, no, comes the language and diagrams, that which the knowledge is transferred. Now, the information presented must be actively interpreted and internalized, however, before it becomes new knowledge to the reader. Now, the process of internalization is essentially that of knowledge acquisition, which is central to the whole idea of learning. So, when we say internalization, that means acquisition of knowledge, which is, of course, the central to the whole idea of learning. You acquire knowledge because you are in quest for learning. So knowledge management and knowledge transfer. Understanding the nature of this process is extremely valuable in implementing effective business improvement and adding greater value to consumers, no? Okay, di ba? That's why we are conducting researches, no, in order to find out how to deliver value to your consumers. So, dapat we have this capacity to internalize external knowledge that we have acquired through research. Okay? Socialization, on the other hand, refers to the transfer of one personal knowledge to another person. So, my knowledge to yours, that is what we call socialization, without an intermediary of captured information in documents. It is the most powerful form of knowledge transfer. Now, as we know from childhood, people learn from other people far more effectively than they learn from books and documents. So even if you read a lot, no, it's still nothing still beats socialization in terms of knowledge transfer. Okay. Despite technological advances now that allow people to telecommunicate and work in different locations, organizations function effectively mainly because people who work closely together have the opportunity for rich interaction and learning and ongoing and often informal basis. So even gani kita karon, no, during this virtual, lahi ra jud ang learning if you have na on online kaysa kadtong face to face. Sige bitaw pud mong pangitag face to face kay lahi ra lagi ko, no. Di ko no masabtan ang online. I don't know why. It's just a matter of reading. Charot bitaw. Ug bubasa lamang jud pud siguro sa lecture, no, nga pada sa module. I don't think that learning is different. Siguro the method, no, kay kanang babor ka, ikaw rang usa magtuon-tuon diha. Pero if you truly want to acquire knowledge, there is nothing that could stop you, I guess. I don't know. In my side, if I want to gain knowledge, nobody can stop me at all. Bisan pa ng kuan diha. And combination, on the other hand, is of course the internalization. Not internalization. The acquisition of social, external, and a combination of these three now would result to, of course, the combination of knowledge. So, mana siya ang atong gitawag og knowledge model. Okay. Okay, so the learning knowledge management cycle. So here presented is the learning knowledge management cycle. So one way of thinking about learning and knowledge management is a dynamic cycle from tacit knowledge, asang tacit knowledge, so itong tacit knowledge, from tacit knowledge and back to tacit knowledge. In other words, people's knowledge is externalized into information which, to be useful, must then be internalized by others or learned to become part of their knowledge, as illustrated here in this knowledge management cycle. The flow from knowledge to information, ang key and I, from key to I. Now, the flow of knowledge to information and back to knowledge, back to knowledge, constitute the heart of organizational learning and knowledge management. Direct sharing of knowledge to socialization is also vital. In large organizations, however, capturing whatever is possible in the form of documents and other digitized representations means that information can be stored, duplicated, shared, and made available to people or on whatever scale desired. So again, The learning knowledge management cycle revolves around explicit and so tong usa aroy di naman ko katego tacit knowledge. So from knowledge to information, back to knowledge, and then back to information is of course back up with externalization. Diba? So externalization, the process of and also the internalization. So the internalization, the process of processing kadtong imong nakuha nga knowledge so that you can create new knowledge, 'di ba? So mao na siya. That is what we call internalization to externalization. And of course, you can only do that through socialization. Okay? Through socialization, mao man na diha nga mahitabo ang kukabildo, debate, kapag nag-istorya-istorya. That's why in group activity, there's always this brainstorming, focus group discussion. Okay, that is where the learning knowledge management cycle happens. Brainstorming, focus group discussions, nga nag-socialize mo, and then you internalize particular knowledge from your group mates, and then of course you process that on your own and give your own idea and make it explicit, meaning to say you express it to the rest of the group, and then of course the members would also kanang i-absorb it, no? Ila pong i-internalize, and then they're going to externalize it or express it, no, in a form of thoughts and ideas. So mao na siya. Okay, so that's it for this lesson about communication and education and how important it is, or they are, no, in the quest for total quality management. Okay, so I will be posting this in my channel, and you just have to, or maybe I might give a quiz, so I will just announce anyway. And that's it, kid. Thank you for listening.